Mpamba.
Good morning, Dr. Sylvia.
You are live.
Okay. Good morning, mentors, mentees, wonderful people, everyone watching on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Welcome to Prosperity for Your Soul. I am Kampam Mabuluki, a mentor amongst other things, an alternative therapist, a philanthropist, and a UN award recipient. I'll get straight into it. But before I get into it, the Mentorship Academy runs every day. So on Mondays, we have Reverend Walter, who usually comes through with some nuggets and some knowledge and information you definitely need for yourself to get. We have Dr. Sylvia Mwansa on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, it's an open platform. Different people come and share what they're doing and what they're about. On Thursdays, Dr. Nellie comes through with Prosperity for Your Soul. And on Fridays, we have medical issues. We have conversations about health and your well-being. So today's topic, I decided to title it "Being Intentional About Doing Life with Your Mentor." Dr. Lenny likes to post and to share and saying "doing life together." So I looked at it from a different perspective and a different gaze, based on a conversation I had with a friend of mine who I also mentor, who called me on WhatsApp in a different country. So they began to tell me that, you know what, I really need money. And I said, okay, we all need money. That's something we all need. But I began to also think about other conversations surrounding mentorship and surrounding being intentional. So I posed a question to her and said, have you been intentional about using your giftings and about using what you have? And as I began to unpack, I began to think about the story of Lazarus. Everyone's familiar with the story of Lazarus. He dies, and at the end of the story, of course, Jesus raises him from the dead. But I began to look at the story of Lazarus from a perspective of mentorship. So I've got 4 points which I'll run through over the next 30 minutes. Well, it's down to 20 minutes. And the first one is, do you have a relationship with your mentor? And the relationship we have with your mentor is you need to have a mentor. Now, why I ask is, do you have a relationship with your mentor? And also emphasize that you need to have a relationship with your mentor is because your mentor is the person who can intervene in certain situations. So Lazarus is dead, right? But people knew that he had a relationship with Jesus. So it's the same thing with our mentor. Do you have a relationship with your mentor that if something happens or in times of crisis, they can go and call your mentor to come and intervene in your situation? It's very, very important for you to have a relationship with your mentor, because if you don't have one, how are they going to know who to call? How is your mentor going to intervene in the situation? So doing Cash. Okay. Okay. Am I back? Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you're back.
Okay. I dropped for like 5 seconds, but I'm back. So I was saying it's important to have a relationship with your mentor because one, they're able to come and intervene in your situation, and two, they are moved by your situation and the situation you're in. The reason Jesus wept is because he had a relationship with Lazarus and he loved Lazarus. So it's the same thing with your mentor. If you don't have a relationship with your mentor, if your mentor is not moved, how are they going to come and intervene in your crisis? So very, very important, have a relationship with your mentor, and not just a relationship of when things are going really bad is when they need to show up. It needs to be a continuous and gradual relationship because they need to know how you ended up in the crisis or what happened. They're indicators. It's the same thing with the dashboard on your car. Your dashboard will tell you you need water, or the engine's overheating, or you need fuel because of the gauge, or you're driving too fast. So in the same way, the mentor needs to be able to read the indicators so that in times of crisis, they show up, they're there to weep for you, and they're there to come to, and that brings me to my second point. Your mentor's track record and network can change your situation and intervene when you are helpless. So we've moved from a situation of having a relationship with your mentor and your mentor knowing you to a situation where the mentor can intervene. So what happens is Lazarus is helpless now. He can't do anything. But the mentor shows up. And the first instruction the mentor gives is roll away the stone. That's your mentor's track record at work, and that's your mentor's network at work. The people by themselves, just standing there, wouldn't have moved that stone because they had their own reasons. One, he's been there for 4 days, it doesn't smell too good. But your mentor doesn't really care about the situation. And let me qualify that. When I say they don't care about the situation, I mean the mentor has the ability. The mentor has the ability because of their track record and their network to change your situation and intervene when you're helpless. So you're there in the tomb, you're buried, you can't move the stone, but your mentor has the network and the ability to move that stone for you. So because you have a relationship with them, they will show up in your situation and say, okay, what I need to do is perhaps call this person, they're able to help them. Maybe I'm able to call this person to intervene in this situation. I'm able to gather people around who can intervene in the situation. So it's very, very important because your mentor has experience. Your mentor knows certain things you don't know, and your mentor knows how to maneuver in those situations. So it's not difficult for them to move the stone or to change your situation or to help in your situation. So, number one, having a relationship with your mentor. Number two, the relationship with your mentor is what will cause them to intervene on the outside. It's what will cause them to intervene in your situation. Number three, does your mentor know you by name and do they believe in you enough to call you out of the tomb or to pull you out of your situation? It's one thing for a mentor to know you. It's one thing for a mentor to have the track record and the ability and the networks to help in your situation. But them knowing you by name is a different situation. Notice there were a lot of dead people in that tomb, but Lazarus was the person who was specifically called out or singled out. That is because Lazarus was of significance. Are you of significance enough in your mentor's life for them to call you by name, for them to believe in you that if I call this person out, if I call them out and help them out and get them back on their feet, they won't disappoint me, they won't embarrass me, but they'll do what they're supposed to do. So being called by name and being known by name and someone believing you in you is very different from someone just knowing you. So we're building on from relationship, having a relationship, to them being able to call on their networks and them being able to use their track record to help you, to them now knowing you specifically by name and believing in you. So in the tomb, which brings me to my fourth point, Lazarus could have chosen to stay there. You too, as a mentee, can choose to stay in the situation you're in. You can be comfortable and be happy to stay in the situation you're in. Lazarus did not have to come out of the tomb. That's what people don't realize. He could have stayed in there. It was comfortable. He wasn't working. He was sleeping all day. He was resting, and he was in his comfort zone. But when your mentor calls you out of your comfort zone, you have to decide for yourself. Once the stone was rolled away, once the mentor had used their networks and their track record and their experience, it is now up to you to show up, to come out. Because Coming out is a decision you have to make by yourself. You have to decide for yourself. Am I going to better my life? Am I going to change my situation and my circumstance? In the tomb, it's very comfortable. It's cool in there. There's no sun. There's no noise. There's no work. Nothing is going on in there. But when your mentor calls you out, you have to respond also with action. You have to respond and do something. I mean, it's very easy for a mentor to come in there and lift you up and carry you outside. But you have to do the walking. You have to do the work. You have to put in the work. So when your mentor knows you by name or calls you by name, it is up to you to repay them back by doing what you ought to be doing, which is coming out. Don't get caught up in that comfort zone too long. 4 days is a long time to be in a tomb. 4 days is a very, very long time. But you know what? He made the decision and came out. Now, the conversation I was having with my friend also brings me to the fourth point. When I began interrogating and asking them, what steps have you actively taken to change your situation or to enhance your situation? I began by asking them and said, you just finished a qualification and you just got a very, very powerful qualification, and you also have a very good track record and experience. Have you tried something called intentional volunteering? Have you tried doing something with what you have? And then they began thinking and said, you know what? I've been applying for jobs. And I said to them, applying for a job is one thing. And this is what Dr. Akan teaches about. For those of you who've done the program on being mentors and mentorship, find out from PLD. They'll be able to put you on that. It's called ICP, if I'm not mistaken. Find out about the ICP program. But basically, one of the things we're being taught in ICP is the fact that you have to be intentional about taking your career forward. You have to be intentional about going where you need to go. So once you're called out, it's up to you to put in the work. So I told them, you know what? Try applying as a volunteer. You see, when you apply as a volunteer, it shows that you're very intentional about where you want to go and what you want to do. So intentional volunteering is very different from being an intern and is very different from applying for from a job. Being a volunteer allows you to exercise your skill set, allows you to exercise your talents, your giftings, which have otherwise been buried. And then they say, oh, you know what? This person has so much value to offer. Maybe let's offer them a job. Maybe let's take them on full time. Maybe let's take them on part time. You have to start somewhere. You just can't come out of the tomb and straight away, boom, you're earning $1 million. Boom, you're earning $1 trillion. That's not how it works. You need to be intentional about it. My fourth and final point is when he came out of the tomb, he had grave clothes on. Now, two things: grave clothes are very scary, and two, they smell a bit funny. So again, you need your mentor in your life to help you remove those grave clothes, because what's underneath the grave clothes is a gifting. It's what's good about you. It's life. So for people to see that life, you need to be doing life with your mentor. So your mentor is one now who give that instruction and say, remove the grave clothes. Now, removing the grave clothes and the tomb signify different things in our lives. They could be financial hardships. It could be lack of resources. It could be lack of knowledge. It could be you not understanding your situation. So the mentor then comes in and says, okay, here's what you need to do. Here's the instructions you need to follow. This is what you need to do. And that's why having a relationship with them is so important, because they begin to understand. So once the grave clothes are now removed, and they're now removed, and then your mentor releases you and says, go and be free and go and do what you need to do. That's the point you need to get to with your mentor. So it's a two-way thing, but the onus is always on you, the mentee, to follow up the mentor, to be intentional about the mentorship. The more intentional you are about your mentor mentoring you, the better the mentorship relationship is. Every now and then, especially now, so that we're towards the end of the year, there's a lot of there's a lot of end of year fatigue, they like to call it. There's a lot of burnout, and people just feel, you know what, it's time to sign out and check out. Now is not the time to sign out and check out and go bury yourself and then on January 1st resurface and say new me, new you, new resolutions and whatnot. Now is the time to reach out to your mentor. Now is the time to send that signal to your mentor and say, you know what? I need you to get me out, to call me out one more time. I need you to challenge me one more time. And I need you to get me out there energized and just get me back on the right track. Trust me, your mentor won't turn you down. Your mentor won't say no. They've been waiting for you to enhance your relationship with them. They've been waiting on you to call on them. And one of the things you need to do is be an intentional mentee. So now is not the time for you to pack yourself up and be in those grave clothes. Because when January 1st comes, everyone else would have got in touch with their mentors, everyone else would have had a game plan and they would have executed it. And then they look at you, they'll be like, why has this person been? Why did they look a bit funny in their grave clothes? Why did they smell funny in their grave clothes? So be intentional about reaching out to your mentor. Be intentional about being a mentee. This applies in all areas of your life. It applies in all the areas of your life. Be transparent to your mentor. If there's someone you can be transparent to, it's your mentor because they have the best interests at heart. So you can't show up in the workplace in your grave clothes. You can't show up in business in your grave clothes. You all need people who can help you with that. Before I go off the call, I have 10 minutes. I'll share with you a quick story about Henry Ford. So Henry Ford was in a similar situation as Lazarus, a similar situation a lot of mentees and people find themselves in. Henry Ford started his business under a different name. It was not the Ford you know today or the Ford Rangers you see on the road today. And his first business failed. He went bankrupt. He lost money. In the same year, he started another business and went bankrupt and lost money. The next year again, he said, let me try a business one more time. And this time round, his business was also going under. But Ford realized and said, you know what? I need to do something different about my situation. And he went and sought a mentor. Now, the mentor he thought would only help him get his business back on track. But the mentor one upped him and put money in his business because he believed in him. The mentor was not even an automotive engineer. He had nothing to do with automobiles or the car business. He was in mining, but he was a mining magnate and he had vast resources and vast experience. It was this experience and it was these resources that he pumped into Henry Ford. And this is the Ford motor vehicle company we see today, the Ford company we see on our roads today. And if you've seen their new campaign now, they're even saying Ford is not a car, it's an experience. And that's what a mentor brings to your life. A mentor brings experience, a mentor brings resources, a mentor brings a network, a mentor brings a track record. Things to help you harness your gifts, things to help you harness your skills, things to help you move forward. So today, if there's 3 takeaways you can take away: one, have a relationship with your mentor. Two, be dependable. Your mentor must be able to believe in you and depend on you to do what you said you would do and deliver and execute what you said you would do. Three, that your mentor must know you by name. There never must be a time where you're shy or you feel, you know what, I've messed up, let me hide from my mentor. Your mentor must know you by name. And four, allow your mentor to remove the grave clothes. Allow the mentor to help you up on your feet. My name has been Kampamba Mavluki. I'm a mentee of Dr. Nellie, a proud one too, son of Reverend Dr. Mavluki and Mrs. Mavluki. Thank you so much for tuning in and showing up. Remember, Mondays, Reverend Water is always on the call to drop nuggets and gems about life, business, and everything to do with life. On Tuesdays, Dr. Beatrice Mwansa is always on the call. On Wednesdays, it is a time and opportunity for people to share what they're doing with their lives. Thursdays, Prosperity for Your Soul with Dr. Nellie. Thank you so much for having me on this platform, Dr. Nellie, today. And on Fridays, we have medical matters and medical issues on how to stay healthy and live a healthy life. Thank you so much. Have a great Thursday. Call up your mentor now, send them a WhatsApp, and reach out to them. And remember, you can have more than one mentor. It's not limited to one mentor per per situation or one mentor for one particular thing. You can have several mentors who mentor you in different things. I have at least four mentors mentoring me in different things, and it's proving to be very helpful and uplifting. Thank you so much. Have a great Thursday. Be energized and may your soul prosper.
We are still live and there's no one who is speaking. Maybe you can end the call or very happy to hear the relationship between a coach and a mentor and a mentee, the relationship. That's what we need to be hearing. And thank you so much for reminding us of what we need to do with our mentees and our mentors, because we always make such a mistake. Even us who come on this platform, we also have mentors, and we also behave like mentees when we want certain information, because we don't know everything, and every day is a learning day. So this is why it is so important for us to actually be intentional. And so the subject for today was really great, and we're really going to be intentional about what we do. And this is all we have for you today. So thank you so much for joining us on our 0730 Mentorship Academy. And we are good to go. We are ready for the world, and all the things that are around us can just go away. So thank you so much.